We go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Thank you so much for your patience. Thanks for hanging out and thanks for waiting. Wow, I have a special guest today on the Provoke Coach podcast. I have a Mr. A Taylor Morgan. This gentleman is a fellow coach and entrepreneur, and I love his style, and I've been following him. And for a coach to follow another coach, you know that they got to be good. Right. So, Taylor, I guess, you have the floor. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show because you were on mine a while back and that was a great episode.
Yeah.
So about me, I am a Taylor Morgan. That's correct. One of many. It's crazy how many other people out there with the same name.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's crazy. So like you said, I'm a coach just like yourself, former Marine Corps veteran, currently holistic lifestyle specialist, and I coach social entrepreneurs or impact-driven entrepreneurs on how they can maximize their potential and grow their business, something you're all familiar with.
Right. Absolutely. And, I guess, for those people maybe that they don't really know what a holistic type coach is. I mean, what does that really mean? Like, that's kind of a broad statement, but what do you specialize in? Like, what is your niche? I know what it is, but tell everybody else.
Yeah, good question. So the holistic view of things means that you can't just focus on one thing. To live holistically means every one of these pieces, and I have 6 pillars of an optimized human experience, has to be in place and optimized in order for you to be functioning at your peak potential. You can be surviving, if you are only doing exercise, for example.
Right.
If that's all you're doing, you'll survive, but you sure as hell can't be optimized if you don't have everything, dialed in. So that's what I do. And specifically for my niche, which is social entrepreneurs. I find them so rewarding to work with because the more impact-driven entrepreneurs I can help, the more of an impact they can create and the better the world gets. And it's just an amazing feeling to know that, the more people that I impact, the bigger the number in my bank account, that correlates to the bigger impact I've made.
Right. And that really can kind of increase your reach tenfold, right? Like if you're focusing on, I guess, the people that want to make an impact, right? That really, really want to just do more than just money, right? More than just, putting money in the bank and really making that stand. Like, what made you kind of decide to go that route and really choose that avatar, if you will?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I started out with just the broad term entrepreneurs, because I knew I wanted to coach entrepreneurs. They have the right mindset.
Right.
But then I would have people coming to me and want coaching solely for selfish reasons. And I would always turn them down because I've been there. I used to have the biggest ego in the world, being a machine gunner in the Marine Corps. Like, I thought the world revolved around me. So I've been there. I get it.
Right.
But then, through some, crazy life changes, things shifted and my mindset shifted. And now I realize that nobody gives a shit about me. Nobody gives a shit about Taylor Morgan. So I came to realize that I was turning down these people who just wanted to get better for selfish reasons. And in the same sense, I found it so rewarding. Some of the clients who I started with just happened to be social entrepreneurs, for example. And I was like, wow, I really love working with that type of client. And so it's like the 80-20 principle, cut out the 80% of the stuff that you don't necessarily enjoy doing. Not that I didn't enjoy working with other clients, but I really got a lot of value and benefit from coaching social entrepreneurs. So I just dove all into that. And now it's like, I can't really even fathom anything that could be better than coaching social entrepreneurs.
And what are the characteristics that, obviously you're going into really narrowing in your ideal client, right? Your ideal avatar. Mm-hmm. And, what characteristics do you look for in these people right away, kind of when choosing to bring them on, because I'm a coach as well. And there's people that I just will not work with. I don't care how much money you throw at me. I don't care what it is that you do. It isn't happening, because then I'm giving up my happiness, right? And I'm giving up what's important to me, which is number one. I mean, we talked about being selfish and having egos, but it's for me to do what I need to do, right, to give back to the world. So what characteristics do you look for?
Yeah, well, one that's undescribable is just like, almost immediately when I see someone, I can just tell, like I see them and like their Instagram page, what they post and what their business is all about. I can just almost tell if I would vibe with that person or not. It's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like when you see someone, you just kind of know. But other than that, I look into their company, what does their company stand for? I really enjoy working with eco-friendly brands, especially ocean conservation companies. That's what I'm passionate about. I love the ocean. I think plastic pollution and the extinction of all these different sea creatures is horrible, and it's all because of humans. So the more that I can help those companies, I just feel great, because I go in the ocean, I snorkel, it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
So that's what I look for is, are they mission driven? Like, is their sole reason for being in business something other than profits? And if so, then I would probably work with them. So that's the main thing. It's also if they're charitable or a nonprofit, anything like that.
Awesome. And are there things that kind of made you come up with this as you're really kind of talking with these other clients that you had before? Because it hasn't always been like this. Mm-hmm. Are there the big hangups that really kind of drove you over the edge to say, you know what, I just gotta choose different people to work with? What were those negative things that really kind of stuck out?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say they were negative things, because I mean, I enjoy helping people, regardless of why they're in business. I just enjoy helping impact-driven entrepreneurs more. I will say what I found was that some of the entrepreneurs, not all of them, who I worked with who weren't in business for some bigger mission, they would often get less benefit from the program, because they would either miss a coaching call, wouldn't, dive into the modules as deep as they should have. And that kind of frustrated me, because I already got paid. Like, the money, I had the money, so it wasn't about the money. I got in business because I want to make an impact in these people's lives. And what I found, and this is why one of the first things that I teach, is your mission statement and your vision statement. That's so vital. And what I found with a small portion of the entrepreneurs who were not mission driven was that they weren't getting as much benefit out of it as they could. And so now with social entrepreneurs, that's almost never the case, because they're not necessarily doing it just for themselves. They have this bigger purpose. It's almost like, who are they not to take this course seriously? Because if they don't get better, then, who's negatively impacted by that? For example, my latest client, Daniel Hinchcliffe, he's the founder of Play Turtle Ball, which is an ocean or a beach game that is completely sustainable, no plastic. And I mentioned to him, it's like, okay, like if you don't show up and get better and grow your business, then it's not only you that is negatively impacted, it's also the sea turtles. So it's like every time you don't post on Instagram to spread the awareness, you're essentially killing a sea turtle. Now, of course, he's not literally doing that, but it's just it's that way of thinking to get you in that frame of mind. Like, you have to show up in order to get better, because 10% of his proceeds go towards a sea turtle conservation group.
Yeah. And that makes sense, because I think that, it's almost like the analogy of, once you become a parent, right? Or once you become a significant other, there's always, you're now attaching somebody else, and you're responsible for somebody else. In this case, they're responsible for something else, right? That's driving them more than just putting a roof over their head and feeding their own family. It's deeper than that. So it sounds to me like the level of commitment that you get with your clients is just like tenfold, because that's what you're saying. Like they got a little bit better results than maybe somebody that wasn't as mission driven. Is that correct?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a huge part of getting anything out of anything is the reason why you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's a reason why so many people don't achieve whatever goal they set out to achieve, is because the example I always give is, everybody wants to lose fat, gain muscle, look good naked. Everybody wants that.
Right.
But why do you specifically want that? You can't just say, oh yeah, I want to lose 10 pounds. Like, okay, well, why? Well, because I want to look better. Okay. Well, why do you want to look better? Well, because I want my wife to look at me the way that she used to. And then we have, more fun in bed. It's like, okay, well, now we're getting somewhere. That's why you want to go to the gym. That's why you want to eat better. Not just you don't want to lose 10 pounds. It's not about the 10 pounds. Why not 11 pounds? Why not 9 pounds? It's the way you want to feel. And so I think too many people don't connect to their reason why.
Yeah. Well, and I think people lose it over time. I'm sure, if you're like me, we listen to our clients that, there's always the used to. I was a great athlete at one time. And I think you and I talked about this on your podcast a little bit, is I shoulda, woulda, coulda, in all these stories that people say. And we've all been there, done that in some area of our life. When you're dealing with these, let's call them your ideal clients, right? Like your coaching clients right now. What are some of the things that you really run them through as far as coaching? Because I think, you do a lot of holistic, items, on, different tasks and holding, your clients accountable. I see it because I follow you. I know what you're doing. I've listened to your podcast. I've gone through this with your clients. Can you share a little bit of like kind of what a lot of your clients are getting from you? I know you have some pillars, that you focus on.
Yeah. So exactly what you said. I teach that there's 6 pillars of optimized human performance. Yep. So number 1 is mindset and brain health.
Yeah.
You have to have the right mindset to even get started. So that's first. And then within that category is also your mission and your vision. That's some of the first things we go over in my program. And I call your mission statement your treasure map, following, the Captain's Lifestyle brand. Because if you follow that, it leads you to life's ultimate treasure. And you get to define that. It's whatever you want. And then I call your core values your compass. Because if you follow those, it's going to lead you to where you want to go in life. Following your core values, not just random on autopilot.
Right.
And then also within that category is brain health. So balancing out your neurotransmitters, all that kind of stuff. So that's the first about month of the program, is just optimizing everything that's going on up in your head. After that, we go into sleep, which is the foundation of everything else in your life. If you don't have good sleep, you can't perform well in the gym. It doesn't necessarily matter what you eat. It does to an extent, but you're going to have more stress. You're not going to be able to think creatively. You're going to have poor memory. Just everything is made worse if you're sleep deprived. So we really dive hard into sleep, especially with entrepreneurs. They have that mindset that it's like, okay, to be more productive, you have to sacrifice your sleep. Yeah. And in fact, it's just the opposite of that. Like, you need to prioritize it. So that's something I'm super passionate about, is spreading the word about sleep.
And, and I guess, Taylor, I want to really kind of talk to you about that, because a lot of even my clients, I invited them to, today's show. I'm like, look, you got to listen to this guy, because I preach getting, 8 hours of sleep a night or more. That's one of the things that we talk about, like, and like, you're right. You get, oh, well, I'm working, hey, bell to bell, burning the candle at both ends, you know what I mean? And they're these power driven type people, which I love. Right. I love the hustle. I love the grind, but they're missing something, and this element is sleep. Can you touch on that? Like, maybe give your, top 5 reasons, or what happens chemically in the body, for everybody just to hear, and I want to hear it again too, because, It's important.
Yeah, sleep is something I talk about literally every single day of my life. Every single podcast I put out, sleep gets mentioned, every video, because everything relates back to sleep. Like if you have a problem in your life, more than likely it's caused by poor sleep. Now, of course,
Yeah.
if you have great sleep, you can still have problems in your life. But for the average person out there, because I went out and interviewed people down by San Clemente Pier where I live.
Mm.
I interviewed people. I said, hey, how's your sleep? And the average ranking was a 6 out of 10 sleep.
Wow.
And I can tell you right now, if you're anything less than an 8 out of 10 for sleep quality, you're sacrificing something in your life. Something is missing, whether you know it or not. And that's part of the problem, is that people think that they quote unquote get by on 6.5 hours of sleep. When in reality, if you can get that extra hour to make it 7.5 hours, your life will be better. And the problem is that because they've lived their life that way for so long, they think that everything's fine, but they don't know how good they could feel.
Yeah.
It's like the person who's eaten at, McDonald's or gotten fast food for the last 10 years of their life. They just think how they feel is normal. But I promise you, once you start eating better food, there's something better. Like you can feel better. Like you should wake up every day feeling excited, like ready to tackle your day, full energy throughout the day. You shouldn't, need the extra 2 cups of coffee at 2 p.m. So to answer your question, what are some of my best tips on sleep? Creating a solid morning ritual and a solid nightly ritual.
Yeah.
And I use the term ritual because it really is that sacred. Because sleep is so important to everything else in your life, your morning and evening rituals need to be prioritized, and they should not be skipped or forgotten about, whatever.
Yeah, so for sure.
The rituals that I teach are the CAGES morning ritual, which stands for cold exposure, affirmations, growth, exercise, and sunlight. Yeah, and we can get into those if you want. But then the nightly ritual is the 4-3-2-1-30 method. So 4 hours before bed, finish up all intense exercise, and we can get into the reasons why each of these if you want to go deeper. 3 hours before bed, finish up your last meal. 2 hours before bed, limit all forms of stimulation, so like light and loud sounds. 1 hour before bed is begin your nightly ritual, and also limit your fluid intake. 30 minutes before bed, take any supplements. And the supplements are going to depend a little bit on your specific situation.
Right. Wow. And I mean, just hearing that, I mean, and we don't even really need to be specific. I want to let, my, clients and everybody kind of reach out to you in that regards and really kind of go through that with you and listen to a lot of your other podcasts, because you've talked about this a lot. You've gotten into, I mean, and probably you're right. Every single one of your podcasts, you've talked about this, but it's interesting what you're talking about with morning routines, because I watched a podcast that you did talk about each step, and, a part of teaching our clients as far as proper nutrition is obviously giving your body enough opportunity to digest the food, get into a good space, a couple hours before you go to sleep. And it's one of these things that is it's like pulling a bone from a dog, getting people to do, because it's such it's an eating disorder, right? To just eat, constantly before you're going to bed, but this late night eating, you talked about a morning routine. Why is a morning routine important to your evening sleep?
Yeah, good question. It's because your morning routine dictates how well you sleep that night. And so it's a cycle that they work synergistically. So you can't really just have one without the other. That's why I created both of them. So in order to have a good morning, you need a good night's sleep. But in order to get a good night's sleep, you have to have the solid morning routine. And the number one thing that dictates how you sleep at night is light. So that's why sunlight is the most important step in the CAGES morning ritual, because sunlight literally shuts off melatonin production in your body in the morning, and then darkness in the evening. That's why I say limit all forms of stimulation, meaning light, in the evening, because darkness stimulates melatonin production. And so if
Right.
you're on your screens in the evening, all the blue light, that your body thinks that it's noon. And so it doesn't make any melatonin. So your sleep quality is not going to be great. So that's why first thing in the morning, get some sunlight, and that shuts off your melatonin in the morning, makes you awake, alert, and happy. It releases serotonin and actually
Yeah.
resets your melatonin production for that night. So the more sun you get in the morning, the better you sleep.
So let me ask you a question then. These night lights, these hall lights, these little vague, very, very light. I mean, just to where you're not going to get up and bump your leg. Those are what you're saying is get rid of them. I mean, should it be total blackness?
That depends. I prefer as black as possible. There's a new paint that came out that's I forget the name of it, but it's like the blackest paint that's ever existed. And so if you painted your room with that, it's like pitch black. So that's what I want. Blackout curtains, all that.
Got it.
But some people aren't comfortable with that. The sleep doctor, Michael Bruce, he says that if there's some light on, like he even says that you can sleep with the TV on, which I can go back and forth on that. But I've also heard that there's studies that say that they shined a laser pointer on the back of people's knees while they were sleeping. And even though the people didn't wake up, they could monitor it on their brain scans because I don't know how they were being monitored, but their brain could sense that there is light because your skin has photoreceptors just like your eyeballs do. So that's why when you see the sun in the morning, you want to expose as much skin as possible, not just your eyeballs. So yeah, I would say if you really want to geek out on sleep, I would say as dark as you can get it, but you shouldn't be stressing yourself out if there's a little light on in the corner, as long as it's not bright.
Well, and
also,
I guess
you can hack that with like a sleep mask.
Right, exactly. And I was just going to say that, I'm all about the hacks, right? Like I'm all about like, what trick can we do to manipulate this, to really help, because it really is important, like you're absolutely right. When you do wake up in the morning, like the first thing I'm doing is I'm going, for a run, I'm going with the dogs. Like it's a ritual, like, every single day. I mean, sunlight, probably too much sun. I'm here in South Florida, so I got to be careful of that. But, nonetheless, you're right. Like that's like instant wake up and that's instant cycle. Now, do you find that most people are out of cycle? Because I found that, and I really had to try to do my best with this, to get into going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every morning. Are people still out of whack with this and just going to bed at all different hours and waking up at all different hours?
100%. Yeah, that's a huge issue. So I would say in addition to sunlight, one of the best hacks you can do is exactly what you said. Go to bed and wake up at the same time, Monday through Sunday, not Monday through Friday, every single day, because that's what your body knows how to do. Your circadian rhythm is your body's internal clock. And so part of the reason why a lot of people wake up on Monday morning feeling extra tired is because they have the normal sleep schedule, Monday through Friday. They stay up late on the weekend, sleep in late, and then they wake up early Monday morning and their body's like, whoa, like we were just adjusting to this later sleep schedule. Like what's going on now? So going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time within an hour maximum is ideal.
Let me ask you this, right? So like for me, Mondays are kind of a drag for me. Not that I don't get the same amount of sleep, but I do more on Saturday and Sunday, especially physical activity, right? And going out and about, and then plus doing all sorts of chores and everything around home. Can a hack be that you throw in an extra hour or two on Sunday? Does that really help you on Monday, or does it really matter?
No, yeah, for sure. That would help. So sleep is going to depend from person to person based on physical activity level, mental activity level, stress, all that type of stuff. So if you're doing more on the weekends, absolutely you should be sleeping more, within that hour. So what you could do is get an extra hour by going to bed a half hour earlier and waking up a half hour later. So that's, within an hour. if you have a sleep tracker, it makes it really easy. I use the Whoop with my clients, and it tells you, okay, this is how much sleep you need tonight based on your activity level. But you could also do it based on feel. Like if you feel tired, go to bed.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah, no, 100% for sure. Well, and I guess where did all this begin? I mean, here you are, peak performance coach specializing in, in a lot of cool different ways, right, to get people to their peak performance, a very niche group. Let's roll back the times a little bit. Like, where are you from? How did you grow up? And how did you get to here? I mean, because it's awesome.
Yeah. So after high school, I joined the Marine Corps. Like I mentioned, served 4 years as a machine gunner. And then after that, during and then after, I was a CrossFit coach, ended up being the head coach of the biggest CrossFit gym in Saudi Arabia for 6 months. Ended up not liking it there. And there's a whole story behind all that. And then that's what led me to create what I do today.
Wow. That's awesome. Do you think that a part of you being in the military, I mean, has it really kind of shaped the way that you coach your clients and the way that you bring them to their peak performance?
100%. Every experience that I've ever had, has led me to where I am today. And specifically something that happened in the Marine Corps, I broke my ankle while I was drunk. And that was like my first, one of my, there were probably 2 wake-up calls that I had in the Marine Corps. And I think breaking my ankle was my second one. And that kind of sobered me up. Literally, I quit drinking for 2 years because I'm like, I don't want to go down that path. Not that if you were on the outside looking at me, you're like, oh, wow, he's a Marine. He's doing good things. But I knew that I wasn't even close to reaching my potential. I was going out and drinking every weekend, playing video games during the day, and I was not maximizing my time. So when I broke my ankle, I was doing something stupid, drunk, and that was kind of the catalyst for me to change towards this more holistic approach. I really started diving deep into all things health, wellness, personal development, because I've always had that mindset of, okay, this is what happened. You can either feel sorry for yourself and go down, that negative path, or you can say, okay, that event took place. What can I now do to make it better? And because it was such a life-altering thing, because I ended up missing my second deployment because of that, so I was pretty upset about that, I chose to make the most out of it. So I started training even more, because I hate when people give the excuse, oh, I'm injured. Like, okay, well, is your whole body injured? Are you literally in a whole body cast? And even then, there's probably some things you can do. Isometrics. If your arm is in a cast, you can just contract, and that's an isometric. So there's literally always something you can do. So I started training even more, reading books, listening to educational podcasts, taking college courses, and basically doing everything I could to, I guess, make up for lost time. And then that led up to what I do now.
Nice. And then, so how long have you been in business? How many years have you been coaching?
Coaching CrossFit, I've done that. Well, I stopped about 1.5 years ago, but before that, it was 5 years of coaching CrossFit. And I've only had the Captain's Lifestyle, my entrepreneurship high performance coaching brand, for 1.5 years. So
wow, nice.
Very, very new into that, but loving it, growing fast.
Yeah, growing fast. I would have never guessed. I mean, I thought it was a few years, that you were really rolling, pretty good with, with your business, with your company. So that's awesome. So why coaching? I mean, you went from CrossFit, which I get, the physical performance part and wanting to help people and really get people in shape. What kind of made, I guess, the shift towards, more mindset and more that entrepreneurship? And because you are helping these people build their businesses as well. I'm always interested to hear, why you made that choice.
Yeah, well, it's because at every single CrossFit gym I coached at, there was some version of this same story. People would come up to me and ask, hey, coach, I've been coming into the gym for so and so long now. Why am I not getting better? And I would say, okay, how was your sleep? How was your diet? how are your stress levels? Their answer would always be similar. Well, I'm lucky if I get 7 hours on a good day. My diet is pretty good. And as I'm sure you know, anybody who says their diet is pretty good, it means it's not. Yeah.
It's bad, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then their stress is through the roof, whether from their job or relationships, because everybody who would come to ask me was a high achiever. And I define high achiever, somebody who cares about their performance in every area of their life. People who are just going to the gym to have fun and hang out, they never came up and asked me why they weren't getting faster or stronger. Like they just wanted to move and have fun, which is totally fine. But the people who wanted to progress a lot of times were entrepreneurs because they just have that mindset, which is another reason why I wanted to coach them. And so I was like, okay, you can't come into the gym for 1 hour and expect that to offset the other 23 hours of a bad lifestyle. That's just not how it works. So I understood that I wasn't making that impact in the gym. I could give them tips and tricks. Yeah, I could give them tips and tricks for the hour they were there, but they weren't really invested into it. They just wanted to come in and get a workout. They're like, shut up, I sleep, whatever. It's like, no, like sleep really is that important. If you're working out and you're not giving your body a chance to recover, you're breaking yourself down and not allowing your body to build yourself up. You just keep getting worse and worse. So that's why I targeted that niche and made the transition to make a bigger impact, actually impact these people's lives by first going into sleep, then nutrition, then stress, because people think like exercise is what you do to get healthy. And it absolutely does help. But if you're sleeping 6 hours a night and eating garbage, you're probably making yourself worse.
And it's always just one part, right? Like a lot of people, and that's where, when being in the fitness industry for as long as I was, there were so many similarities on what you're saying. It's like, all right, so what do I do for this? And that's like a common question. Okay, well, where do we even start? Like there's so many different dynamics, and you're right. Your body, exercise. Okay, that's one component. Okay, that's like saying, how do you drive a car? Well, you put gas in it, right? So feed it. What happens next? So now you got to learn how to drive it, right? You got to, you got to do all these different steps and these micro steps really to get to where they really want to go. Now, do you find, because I've had a lot of people that, because of, the 20 years that I was in the fitness industry, a lot of the people that I've had on our podcast have been or came from, the fitness industry as, sometimes an executive, higher leadership, sales, marketing. I mean, every pretty much position you can. And they've gone on to even bigger and better things because they came to a limit, right? And just like what you were talking about, do you find that because of what you know about the body, do you find that there's similarities on business and entrepreneurship that are similar to the basic concepts that you talk about when you're talking about these different pillars, like sleep, like nutrition, like, exercise, like different steps? I guess my question is, do you feel that you're at an advantage to help these clients out because of, your training?
Yes. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that a person can be fully optimized if they don't have all the 6 pillars of human performance in place. And one of those is exercise. So my background being in CrossFit, which does take a holistic approach more than, bodybuilding and anything else, because they do talk about sleep. They do dive into nutrition a lot. So I mean, especially to be a successful business owner or CEO, like that's why so many people burn out, is because they go 100% into their business and their stress levels are obviously through the roof. They eat what they can, when they can. If they exercise, some of them are like hardcore and they go out running 5 miles every day or killing themselves for an hour and a half in the gym. But, if they don't have these other steps in place, they're going to burn out quick. Because you're just adding more stress to the body. And if you don't know how to, handle that, it just builds up and you break down.
Well, and I think what's important, like in, I guess, both of our positions is that we take all that knowledge that we've gained and we dump it right into our client's head, right into their body. And they just become a machine, because you're right, they are getting better optimization in every area of their life. And then when they can transform that and do that into their business as well, now they start really kind of picking up on things, because it's science is the way that I look at it, right? Like, people, well, if I eat this, I got to do this. Yeah. I mean, yeah, calorie wise. I mean, if you're really talking about calories versus activity, well, that's just one component and one step of it. Well, man, I tell you, I learned a bunch from you, today. And I know that, my clients have, I know that, our listeners have listened to a bunch, and, I want them to be able to find you. So where can they find your podcast? I'm subscribed. Everybody should, that's listening right now, because you have all sorts of awesome guests on your show as well. Where can they find you? How can they reach you?
Yeah. Awesome guests like yourself. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Info.thecaptainslifestyle.com has links for everything, all my social media, the podcast for every platform, including YouTube. And also that's where you can download the free PDF version of the 4-3-2-1-30 method. So it's got everything. Yeah. Website, all that.
Awesome. And they can find you on Instagram. I know, you're all over Instagram, YouTube as well. I know that a lot of your podcast and everything get downloaded there. Am I correct with that? And obviously on all the podcast platforms and everything like that they can find you as well.
Yep. All the links are at info.thecaptainslifestyle.com. YouTube, awesome. Spotify, Google Music, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, and I know that, we won't let everybody know all of our top secret stuff, but I know you and I are going to, get together and collaborate on some cool stuff that we can really bring to all of these, all of our clients and really everybody out there. I mean, to make, even a broader, impact as well. So I'm going to have you stick around just for a second, Taylor, in the studio here for a second. And everybody else, hey, until next time, thank you so much for tuning in to the Provoke Coach podcast. We'll talk to you soon.